Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Never Wrong Maybe Right show. And today we're going to be doing a quick episode, nothing long. We're just going to discuss the massive game between Colorado and Oregon this weekend. Number 10 Oregon versus number 19 Colorado, in Austin Stadium, where Oregon absolutely annihilated Colorado, 42-6. And the score would almost indicate that the game was closer than it actually was. 36-point margin of victory. It was more like a 50-point margin of victory. Colorado never had a chance in this game. If you look at the stats here, Shedeur Sanders was sacked 7 times on offense. Colorado collectively as a team ran the ball for 40 yards. And I know you got to factor in, you have to factor in the sacks as rushing yards. Never got anything productive going in the run game. Their only points was on their final drive of the game, where they kept their number ones in, all the number one players on the depth chart against Oregon's number twos and true freshmen. So the Colorado failed to score on the first team offense of Oregon the entire time. The Colorado turned the ball over once on a fumble. No, never mind. I'm sorry. I don't know. That was, yeah, that's my bad. Oregon had their first turnover of the year. I will say that. Bo Nix threw a pick up the left sideline to Troy Franklin. That they were one of 2 teams left in the country without a turnover yet. It was them and Penn State. They get the first turnover of the year. But largely an exceptional game from Bo Nix. 3 for 276, 3 touchdowns, 1 on the ground as well. 3 running backs were effective in this game. Bucky Irving had 89, Jordan James had 54, and Noah Whittingham had 45. There were 3 rushers for Oregon who averaged above 5 yards a carry. Bucky Irving averaged 9 yards a carry. Jordan James averaged 8 yards a carry. The Colorado defensive line had absolutely no chance to withstand anything. There were a couple of personal problems with Colorado that wiped away any true chance that they did have. You're talking about they get a stop on the Oregon first drive of the game. They just roll right down the field, score, get 7 easy points. Second drive of the game, they actually get stopped in the red zone. They get a 4th and 3, but on the third down, Colorado commits a personal foul penalty, unnecessary roughness on a player that wasn't even involved in the tackle or anything like that, or the block. Gives Oregon a new set of downs. The goal line, they punch it in and score again. Colorado had 1, 2, 3. They had 3 3-and-outs to open the game. They barely passed midfield the entire time. Shedeur Sanders ended up throwing for 160 and 1 touchdown. Again, the touchdown was kind of garbage time. Colorado had 23 total yards at halftime. They could not move the ball at all. And a couple things to mention about this. You wonder, there is all this talk about, is Colorado going to be, are they going to beat Oregon? Are they going to beat USC? And then could they make a real run at this? And then there was the conflict of like, oh, well, they're only, their win total was 3.5 for the entire season, so they're not supposed to win this game. And so there was a lot of back and forth on that. I think that in terms of the hype train, with Deion Sanders still being there, there's still going to be a lot of national attention. They're still a 3-1 team. They play USC at home this week. Big noon kickoff's going to be there. 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 o'clock Eastern time, 10 o'clock local kickoff in Colorado. It's going to be a huge game against Caleb Williams. And you wonder if Caleb Williams, with what we saw from Oregon and Bo Nix, you would assume that Caleb Williams and USC will light him up for at least 50. You wonder if Colorado can't match that and they go to 3-2 on the season, does the hype really start to wear off? Because after that, they really don't play a huge game because they have 3 unranked games coming up after that. So you wonder, does the hype really kind of fall off to them? Is there less and less media coverage? Because let's face it, this has been the biggest media story in sports, not even college football, or not even NFL, not even college, or the story of sports in general. We're talking all national shows going there, Big Noon Kickoff, ESPN Game Day, First Take, all this stuff. Undisputed is going there next week. All these national shows. The Pat McAfee show was there the other day. So, of course, it's because Prime and all of his connections and all the celebrities, you see all the celebrities there and everything. You wonder, does that get dialed back a bit? If and when they do this to USC. Now, if on the flip side, if they beat USC, then I think the hype comes all the way back. It goes back into an all-time high. It's like, well, you lost to Oregon, that was on the road, but now you get a huge win against top at now 8th overall team in the country. and then you're right back in business. You'll probably be around 15 in the AP poll after knocking off USC. And then you go from there. You're talking like, wow, maybe, if we can string a few wins together, we can kind of really get coordinated our offensive and defensive line. Can we make a run at this thing and get, a win against Oregon State and Washington State and Utah and compete for the Pac-12 title? So that's kind of we're seeing things with that. It was, while watching the game, it was clear and obvious that Colorado, while their skill position guys might be serviceable enough, capable enough, minus Travis Hunter, of course, who's a big loss, more at corner than receiver, I would say, but both sides of the ball, they lack so far on the defensive and offensive line. They get bullied on defense in terms of not establishing the line of scrimmage, not putting pressure on the quarterback. Bo Nix actually was sacked for the first time all season, but if watching the game, there was zero pressure on them the entire time, on Bo Nix the entire time, essentially. And on the flip side, even counting the 7 sacks, there was multiple quarterback hurries, quarterback hits, etc. Shedeur Sanders was really struggling with time to throw. Now, I will say, there were times where Shedeur Sanders did hold the ball a bit too long, which is also a cause for concern. Got to get the ball out quick, especially when there's an intensive pass rush. You need to be able to get the ball out quick, know your reads and whatnot. And I think that partly falls on play calling. You need to know your personnel, right? If you're struggling to keep your quarterback upright throughout the game, call some quick screens, call some quick slants, that kind of stuff to really get into rhythm, get a defense tired, get a defensive line tired. Because if you can start moving the ball and you can go into a huddle, defensive line gets tired, that's less pressure, it opens up a shot play, etc. Right? So that is some things that I think they could work on offensively. It was a drive killer on. So Oregon goes up 13-0 after a missed 2-point conversion on the second touchdown. Third drive, Colorado actually forces what would have been a 3-and-out. Oregon goes with a fake punt. They end up converting that, going down to scoring again. And then you're looking at a 35-0 halftime lead where you're basically saying, all right, what can we do as a Colorado personnel, what can we do to work on things to improve for next week? What can we do to get things straightened out for our next game against USC? Because at that point, you're not really playing the Oregon as much as you're playing yourself, trying to work on some things. I will say Oregon did unfortunately have many penalties, which is a cause for concern again. Oregon's against Texas Tech and Hawaii, there was way too many penalties in those 2 games. You had 9 penalties again this week in a game that you thoroughly outplayed, which is a bit concerning. The flip side, Colorado still 12 penalties, cannot happen. Absolutely need to work on that. Going into the game, there was tons of talk of like how, well, Oregon's going to score all these points. Can Colorado match that, right? Can Oregon will score 42, 45, 50 points? Can Colorado match them score for score and maybe win with their potent offense? Clearly not, as we can see, as Oregon's defense completely shut them down. A majority of their total yards came on the last drive. So overall, respectively. So that on that aspect is quite disappointing, I would say. But nonetheless, it gives film for them to improve. It gives them areas where they can look back on film and be like, okay, we need to do this better, this better, this better. Kind of like I said, if you're getting hit quick routes, quick plays, get the ball out of the quarterback's hands fast, get the skill players out in space, make a miss, and maybe you get a long touchdown on a screen pass, quick slant, take it to the house, etc. Right? So looking ahead to next week, you're looking at Colorado without Travis Hunter again for at least next week. The initial report was a 3-week absence for him. We'll see if that holds true. Maybe if they lose again next week. You never want to jeopardize it. You never want to jeopardize a player's health. I totally understand that. Maybe they're like, that was a rough estimate. It was kind of a 1 to 3 weeks, depending on how he's feeling. Maybe after next week ends up feeling all right to play in 2 weeks against ASU, right? Which they will almost certainly be favored in, as ASU's been awful. So they have a couple kind of game after USC, the game, they have a couple tune-up games before they head back into quality conference play. Washington State, Utah, Oregon State, UCLA, kind of some more quality opponents right there. As for Oregon, they still have a gauntlet. They still have USC, Washington State, Oregon State, Washington, Utah. They have, it's going to be really tough. They do have essentially a tune-up game next week against Stanford, 3:30 Pacific time kickoff, 6:30 Eastern time kickoff. So they open up as 27-point favorites in that game. They should roll Stanford by about 30, 40 points. It's on the road. I don't think it'll matter. And then you go into a bye week and then a huge showdown against Washington. That might be the game of the week. At the current time of this recording, 2 top 9 teams in the country. The Michael Penix, who I know there's all the Caleb Williams hype. Michael Penix might be the true leader in terms of the Heisman race. Dude has been balling out recently. I'll bring up the stats real quick for you guys. Michael Penix, what happened here? Michael Penix. Sorry, give me 1 second. Michael Penix, through his first 4 games, I'll read it to you. 450 and 5 touchdowns, 409, 3 touchdowns, 480, 4 touchdowns, 300, 4 touchdowns to 2 picks. That is what is that? 8 plus 8 is 16 to 2. 16 to 2 TD, 8 to 1 TD to INT ratio. Phenomenal. He might be the leading Heisman candidate along with Caleb Williams. Those two are, I'd say, the 2 clear frontrunners. Shadur took a major step back in the Heisman rankings, Heisman race rankings, whatever you want to phrase it as. But yeah, like I said, Oregon gets a tune-up game, a bye week, and then they go into a massive showdown on the road against Washington. Probably the game of the week that week. I have to check the slate for that week, but should be a phenomenal game then. And then as we wrap this up here, I just want to point out that with Colorado going to the Big 12 next year, you'd think that as Deion said in his presser, you want to get me now. You want to get me now before, this is the worst we're going to be. Where's words? I do think that's true. I do think that with all the national media and attention he gets, all these recruits and transfers and whatnot, they're going to see like, oh my God, Colorado, primetime, Deion Sanders, they're getting all the big new kickoffs, the college game days, all the big shows and whatnot, all the national media attention. Everyone's watching them play. They're probably, this much, their thought might be, this is my chance to, if I play well, NIL money, national attention for scouts, NFL scouts, get to the next level, etc. So I think that they will be able to draw a great amount, and not to mention, they're probably going to be even better, right? So they'll be able to draw more offensive and defensive linemen to the team and whatnot, and really build the program from inside out, which will help them in the passing game and both sides of both aspects of offense, running and passing, but also on the defensive side, getting pressure on the quarterback and helping your secondary out as well. So, but nonetheless, Oregon thoroughly dominates Colorado. Just this game for this episode. Like I said, quick episode. Just wanted to touch on the biggest game of the weekend by far. And then we'll see where things head with both these teams. But like I said, thanks so much for watching, guys, and I will see you guys on today is currently Sunday night. I'll see you guys Monday for the NFL Week 3 recap and all the big games and big storylines from NFL Week 3. Thanks. Have a good one.